She humiliated me with a cruel audio message. Now she's a single mom and thinks I am her only way out. I have reconnected with my first love, and looking at her, I realize how enormous the change has been in our lives. She made fun of me, but the current situation shows me that the decisions I made at the time were the right ones. Valentina and I met when we were almost 12 years old. We were still children with no greater worries than school and neighborhood games. Our parents were also close, so it wasn't strange for us to spend weekends together at family lunches or birthdays. From those early years, I liked her. She was my first love, although I never dared to tell her. My family did not have an easy life. My father worked as a construction bricklayer, always informally. He had no fixed contract, no insurance, nothing to back him up. I clearly remember the day the news of his accident arrived. A fall on the job site left him with fractures that took months to heal. And although he recovered enough to walk and live his life, he could never work as before. Since he wasn't on the payroll, the company washed its hands of the matter. There was no compensation, no insurance, only the economic burden that fell on my mother and me. I was barely 14 years old when I started working small jobs here and there, anything that brought money home. It was tough because I did it while trying to keep up with my studies. I often thought about dropping out of school, but my mother wouldn't let me. She was the one who repeated to me every day that if I wanted a different life, I had to keep studying. Hard work is a given, but if you don't study, all your effort will be lost, she would tell me. Valentina knew what was happening at my house. She was by my side during those times. She listened to me when I vented, and although we never talked about us as a couple, there was a special connection. Even my parents hinted that I should ask her out, that she would be a good girlfriend for me. I would laugh nervously and change the subject because my shyness wouldn't let me take that step. Time passed, we finished high school, and I managed to get into university with a partial scholarship. Valentina also got into the same university, though in a different faculty. Still, we would run into each other on campus, have lunch together from time to time, and share moments like in the old days. She was very popular, always surrounded by friends, by people who wanted to be near her. I liked seeing her shine, but it also made me feel smaller and smaller. I spent a large part of my time rushing from the university to work with dark circles under my eyes and accumulated exhaustion. We were close, yes, but the difference between our lives became more and more noticeable. During those years, I never dared to tell her what I felt. I always thought I should wait for the right moment, and for me, that moment would be graduation. When we finished university and I could proudly tell her that I had managed to overcome the difficulties. That day came, diploma in hand. After so much effort, I felt I couldn't keep silent any longer. I asked to speak with her alone, and with all the nerves in the world, I confessed what I had kept inside for years. I told her that I had always liked her, that she had been my first love, that I wanted to try with her. Her response was quick. She told me she only saw me as a friend, that she loved me, yes, but not in the way I hoped. It hurt, but I accepted it. What could I do? If she didn't want me that way, I wasn't going to force her. I told myself that the important thing was for her to remain in my life as a friend. The problem wasn't her rejection. What really destroyed me came later. A few days later, the rumors started. She, being so popular, had a large group of friends, and somehow they found out about my confession. At first, I thought it was normal, that secrets never last long, but what I didn't imagine was that she herself would make fun of me. One day, one of those friends sent me an audio message. It was Valentina. In that audio, she was laughing at my confession. She said I was a starving wretch, that I had to work since I was a little boy to support my family, that she would never go out with someone like me. She mocked me for confessing my feelings, calling me a crumb picker. Hearing her voice in that audio was like getting a punch in the gut. This was the same person with whom I had shared so many years of friendship, the one who knew my difficulties, who knew how much I had fought not to give up. And yet, instead of defending me, she used me as material for ridicule to fit in better with her group. I no longer saw a reason to keep her in my life. It was hard because losing her was like tearing out a part of me. But I understood that I couldn't stay tied to someone who didn't value me. I decided to focus on myself, on my studies, on my work, on my future. After cutting all contact with Valentina, I was left with a huge void, but I decided to fill it with something that would at least secure my future. I started working at a company as soon as I finished university. It wasn't a glorious position by any means, but for me, it was an invaluable opportunity. From the first day, I took it as a personal challenge. Many might say I became a workaholic, and perhaps they're right. There wasn't a week I didn't accept overtime. There wasn't an internal course I let pass by. There wasn't a project I rejected, even if it cost me weekends. I didn't have a social life like others my age. While many of my colleagues were celebrating, I was in front of a computer with folders in my hand, learning to polish reports, to lead small teams, to negotiate with clients. 5 years of that rhythm forged a character I didn't know I had. My effort was recognized, and I was promoted twice. I'm not talking about millions, I'm not rich, but I reached a stable position, with a good salary, with a respect that I earned through sheer effort. Enough to become independent, rent my own place, and most importantly, give my parents what I always dreamed of giving them. Being able to invite my mother to a restaurant and see her enjoy herself without looking at the prices was a luxury that tasted like glory to me. We are not millionaires, but we live with dignity and lack for nothing. I myself felt different. I was no longer that shy, insecure boy who was self-conscious about his classmates' mockery. I had built my life with my own hands and had done it without asking for favors. In time, I also found a partner, a wonderful woman with whom I not only share projects but also values. I have seriously thought about marrying her. I want to take that step very soon. It was in this context that something unexpected happened. My father, on a random outing, ran into Valentina's father. He told me about it one evening while we were having dinner. They had caught up like old acquaintances, and he invited him to a family lunch. He wanted to relive those times when the families were close. I hesitated. For me, Valentina was part of a past I preferred to keep closed. But my parents asked me to accompany them. They wanted it to be like the old days, and besides, according to them, there was nothing wrong with sharing a meal. I no longer lived with them. I was no longer that boy who felt he had to prove something. I was clear about what I was worth and who I was. So, I accepted. On the day of the lunch, we arrived at Valentina's parents' house. We talked about the years that had passed, about the children, about life in general. It was in the middle of this chat when Valentina's father, with a gesture between resigned and sad, began to talk about his daughter. He told us that things had not been easy for her, that she had made bad decisions, fallen in with bad company, and had romantic disappointments. He even mentioned that she had a young son whom they, the grandparents, were largely raising. He said it with that mixture of love and exhaustion of someone who no longer knows how to straighten the path of a loved one. I listened in silence. I felt no resentment, only a strange distance, as if they were talking about a person I no longer knew. Valentina's father even commented that it would have been nice if she and I had gotten together back in the day. My parents smiled, and so did I, though more out of politeness than conviction. After a while, Valentina appeared. I hadn't seen her in years, and the change was evident. She was surprised to see me, froze for a few seconds, and then greeted me with a nervous gesture. For a while, she tried to stay in the family conversation, but it was clear she was restless. At one point, taking advantage of the fact that the parents were talking animatedly, she asked me to go for a walk. I hesitated but agreed. I had nothing to fear and nothing to hide. We walked down the street in silence until she spoke. She told me it had hurt to lose a good friend, that she had found out that the audio she sent back then had reached my ears, and that when she wanted to apologize, she discovered I had blocked her. She confessed that she didn't insist further because she didn't know how to face it. She told me she did it all to fit in, that in that group of friends, she felt pressure to show superiority, to mock, to pretend, that she didn't measure the consequences and that in the end, she lost me as a friend. Then she talked about her life in these years, about how she had made wrong decisions, about the relationships that led nowhere, about the mistakes that had distanced her from a better future. In her words, there was a tone of genuine repentance. She even admitted that deep down, she did care for me, that she had felt something, but that social pressure and her immaturity made her act cowardly. She asked me, between tears, if we could at least be friends again, that maybe with time we could see what happened between us. I listened to her calmly, and when she finished, I responded serenely. I told her that I no longer felt anything for her, that my life had changed, that I had someone who valued me and who knew what I was worth. I made it clear that there was no going back. Her eyes filled with tears, and for a moment, I thought she would collapse right there. She remained silent, looking at the ground. I took a deep breath and repeated, "There is nothing between us. And there won't be. I'm going to propose to my girlfriend very soon." That was the end. We walked back without speaking. We entered the house, and I continued the gathering with my parents as if nothing had happened. Upon leaving, I felt a strange tranquility. In the past, I had believed she was my world, and over the years, I discovered that I built my world myself with effort, discipline, and firm decisions. Valentina is part of a story that ended, and my present is with the person who truly accompanies me. The rest is left behind. Update 1. Valentina's post: I recently saw my love again, and the difference between his life and mine still burns in my chest. He is successful, self-assured, with a good bearing. I, on the other hand, feel like I've fallen from grace, and I can't help but feel angry because I remember how it all started and how I lost him because of my own decisions. We grew up together. Our parents were close and always pushed us to spend time with each other. I saw him as that lifelong friend, the one who was always there, no matter what. Maybe that's why I didn't realize in time what it really meant to have him. In college, my life took a different turn. I was always popular, had many friends, got invited to parties, and in that environment, it was expected that I would date the guys who were also popular. And so I did. I didn't think much about it, I simply went with the flow, and in that current, I got lost. He, Manuel, was different. He didn't seek attention, he didn't try hard to fit in, and that both attracted and exasperated me. I knew he had been working since he was a teenager because his father had a work accident and the family hadn't received any help. I admired him for his effort, though I never said it out loud. I knew he didn't have it easy. Still, I ended up seeing him as the same old friend. When he confessed his feelings to me, it was at graduation, and I rejected him. I told him I loved him only as a friend. I didn't have the courage to admit that I also felt something, because at that moment, what mattered most to me was my image. The problem is that someone heard or someone found out, and the news of his confession spread through my group. My friends and the popular guys started making fun of him. They said how could he dare to declare his feelings, that he was just an average guy, that he had nothing to offer me. And I, instead of defending him, instead of recognizing how valuable he was, I joined in the mockery. The worst part was that audio. I recorded it myself and shared it. In it, I laughed at him. I called him a starving wretch. I said he had been working since he was a little boy and that I would never be with someone like that. I even called him a crumb picker. Today, I can't explain what went through my head. It was as if I had become someone I wasn't, all to fit into a group that wasn't even worth it. That audio got out, and when I wanted to apologize, it was too late. Manuel had found out and blocked me everywhere. He simply disappeared from my life. That's when my downfall began. I realized that without him, I was truly alone because he was my emotional support, even though I never acknowledged it. He was the person I went to when I had a problem, the one who listened without judging me. And when I lost him, I tried to fill that void with people who didn't deserve a minute of my time. I surrounded myself with bad company. I dated guys who were only looking for fleeting fun, who invited me to parties and trips, but who were never there when I really needed them. I thought living in the moment would make me feel alive, but all I did was sink deeper. In one of those relationships, I got pregnant. My son's father never wanted to take responsibility. I tried to take him to court for child support, but he has managed to dodge the process, change his address, and avoid notifications. Meanwhile, my son depends on me, and largely on my parents. My parents help me take care of him, but it's not the same. I know they are disappointed in me. I see it in their eyes, in their silences, in the conversations that end abruptly. They never say it to my face, but I know they expected more from me. The times I've tried to rebuild my life with someone serious, it always ends the same way. At first, things seem to work, but when it's time to say I have a son, their faces change. It's as if I'm confessing I have a contagious disease. Suddenly, they stop calling me, stop seeking me out, and I'm left alone again. Don't they say that children are a blessing? Society is hypocritical. They repeat pretty phrases, but when they face reality, they prefer to step aside. That double standard has me tired. That's why when I saw Manuel again, I felt so many things at once. It was at a family lunch. I didn't know he would be there. When I walked in and saw him sitting there, with that confidence he never had before, with that bearing of a self-made man, reality hit me head-on. During the walk we took, I told him what my life had been like since he disappeared. I confessed that it hurt to lose a friend, that the audio was a mistake, that I did it only to fit in. I told him my life had gone off the rails without him. And it was true. I feel that if he had stayed in my life, I wouldn't have made so many wrong decisions. I told him about the pregnancy, the court cases, the worthless men. He listened to me calmly, without interrupting, and in the end, I asked if we could resume our friendship, to see what the future might hold for us. His response shattered me. He told me he no longer felt anything for me, that he had a partner, that he was at peace with his life, that he planned to propose very soon. He said it with a coldness that cut through me like a knife. Maybe I was too forward, maybe I should have been more cautious, but in that desperate moment, I felt that he was the anchor my life needed to get back on track. And I still believe it. He says he will propose to his girlfriend soon, but until then, I feel I can still try to make him fall in love with me. Wasn't I his first love? You never forget your first love. I'm convinced that if I try, I can make him remember what he once felt for me. I already lost him once. I don't want to lose him again. That's why I'm here asking for advice. What can I do? How do I get Manuel back? How do I get him to see me again with the eyes he used to look at me with? My life has no direction without him. I need someone to tell me how to win back my first love. Update 2. I'm sorry I haven't updated you all sooner, but I needed time to clear my head. Thank you to those who wrote to me and also to those who just told me to stay away from Manuel. You didn't understand that he was and still is the anchor I needed in my life. However, now it's no use. I've already lost him. I don't know what to do with my life. A whole year has passed since I last told you my story, a year in which I tried again and again to get closer to Manuel, as if there were still a tiny space for me in his world. I tried to make it seem casual, natural, as if destiny were making us cross paths. But he's not naive. He realized I was deliberately seeking him out. Sometimes he ignored me politely, other times he greeted me coldly. And there was one day that hurt more than all the others. It was when I saw him with his girlfriend. And I must admit, she is very beautiful. But what surprised me most was something else. She looks like me, or at least like I was in my prime. That resemblance disarmed me. It can't be a coincidence, I thought. What if deep down he still remembers me, and what if he chose her because she reminds him of me? I approached them, introduced myself. She was friendly, though I noticed a certain discomfort on her face. And I get it. Who wouldn't feel uncomfortable seeing their partner's ex-best friend, the one who was once so close? But I didn't see it that way. In that instant, I saw it as a sign, as if there were still an invisible bond between Manuel and me. What happened next was reality crashing down with its full weight. Manuel pulled me aside with a serious expression. His voice was calm but harsh. He told me to stop looking for him, that he didn't know what I was trying to achieve with my casual encounters, but that it was best for everyone if I kept my distance. He said he didn't want problems for me or for him, that this chapter was closed. In that moment, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I wanted to insist, to explain that I couldn't get back on my feet without him, that my life had been a disaster since I rejected him, that I needed a second chance. But he didn't let me. He walked away and returned to his girlfriend as if nothing had happened. I kept insisting for weeks. I looked for new pretexts, new ways to cross his path, but this time it was different. He spoke to my parents. He told them what was happening, and they, tired of my mistakes, asked me to please not disappoint them anymore. It was the first time I saw such clear exasperation in their eyes. They weren't just disappointed in my life, my bad decisions, the grandson they are largely raising. They were also tired of watching me grovel after someone who had already told me no. Only for them did I stop looking for him. Out of respect, because I don't want my parents to turn their backs on me, because without them I would have nothing. But inside me, that flame hasn't gone out. I can't stop thinking that my life can't be resurrected without him. I know everyone will say I'm exaggerating, that I should focus on my son, on working, on picking myself up. And I've tried. I've looked for jobs, I've tried to study again, I've tried to date other people, but every attempt feels empty, meaningless, as if everything I do is just a bandage while my wound remains open. Many will tell me it's too late, and they are probably right. Others will say I must learn to let go, and that may also be true, but the truth is, I don't know how. For me, Manuel is not just a youthful memory, he is the representation of what I let slip away, of the biggest mistake of my life.